so before going on break, we told you about if you want to go pro, if you have elder parents at home, or generally of any age, even kids, if you want to go pro, what do you do? But what about those who choose to stay back at home? What about our moms? The Supreme Court recently acknowledged that they play the most significant role, those who are homemakers and stay inside the house. It emphasized that their contribution is on par with those earning a traditional income. The case has now talked about, has sort of started this entire thing, and it came from a tragic incident involving the death of Sushma Pandey in a car accident that aged around 50 at that time, and she lost her life when the vehicle she was traveling in lost control, leading to a fatal crash. The question was about insurance. The question was about, it came from a very different space, but it has sparked this entire debate on how much is the value, the worth of a homemaker. This has been a much talked about topic as well, not just in India, globally. So we are now going to be joined by Mitali Nikora. She is economist and works in the women development space. Mitali, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. These, like I said, it's a no-brainer comment. We should, as Indians, know this already. But the fact that Supreme Court had to emphasize it, the fact that they had to underline it, what does it tell us? And a lot of times, the logical next question to this is then what are they worth? How do we calculate that worth? I know a lot of arithmetic has been done across the globe, including UN, but we don't have any answer to that just yet, do we?
So, first of all, thanks, Sonal. It's good to meet again, on your show always. First of all, I'll start with just some statistics to apprise our viewers of the gender gaps that exist in what we in the economics community call unpaid domestic and care work. We have a technical term for it. And thanks to the government of India, we've had a lot of data published on it in 2019. And we are working closely with the government to actually advise on a strategy for the care economy and for care work. Right. So basically in 2019, we learned that on average, I'm not saying every woman, but on average, 5.6 hours per day are dedicated by 95% of women in this country towards unpaid care work. And when you compare this with the amount of time that men are spending, you'll be absolutely shocked. The average number for men is 30 minutes.
Wow.
Exactly. Right. So first we let that difference sink in. Now the second point, but it's a myth buster. People always tell me, yeah. But in urban areas it's getting better. And my response is actually no. Rural men are doing 40 minutes. Urban men are doing 25 minutes of housework. So rural men are actually doing a little bit more, probably because, they have to actually engage in physical amount of labor for household work. Say collecting
They're also
firewood or,
venturing out more. Yeah.
Exactly. So the gaps are, persistent regardless of income, regardless of education. Highly educated women are still doing 7 or 8 times the amount of household work as compared to highly educated men. Women who are working are basically putting in 2 jobs, but they are only paid for one. Because women who are working are putting in about 4 hours of unpaid work every day. And working men, of course, are putting in 20 minutes. So, these kind of differences which have come out in the time use data, we took a lot of this data and started applying, minimum wage calculations to it, average wage calculations to it, and we are working on estimating the value of women's unpaid care work.
But that's a more complicated thing. There are so many takeaways from this, and one of course is one thing that needs to be said more and more. The reason people can go out and earn an income is because there is somebody at home taking care. So that should be significant enough for people to understand, acknowledge, appreciate, and respect the amount of household work homemakers put in. My mom is one,
Absolutely.
and
My
all of
mom is the
us.
other.
Yeah, yeah. So that is one. And second, it is because of this gap that there are lesser women in the workspace.
Exactly, Sonal. You've hit the nail on the head. We've done so much research on the factors which prevent women's participation in the workforce. And one of the major factors is the lack of course, this gender imbalance, but also the lack of care infrastructure and services. In the West, you are typically able to access affordable and safe childcare services or elder care services. Here we have now started thinking about those things. We are thinking about those things, and again, I'll credit the government for having that thinking, which we are contributing to. But at the same time, now is the right time to invest in the infrastructure that we need. And the second thing which we observe, and if you look at your own household also, you'll observe the respect that we give to paid care workers. you know our domestic workers are paid care workers. Our care workers say, somebody is coming into your home to, provide nursing services or to provide nanny services. We have to start respecting our care workers. And this is something that as a culture we all need to work on.
So I'll give you a small example for those watching right now. A driver's salary in the house, who typically knows how to drive a vehicle, is
Yeah.
perhaps less labor, is perhaps requiring less thing. It's a skill that you acquire and you just go with it. Is always more than the cook in your house, who's giving you
Yes.
3 meals a day, who's there before you leave for work and goes to bed after you sleep. This kind of wage gap is always there, and it's not just got to do with what you do, it's got to do with the gender that does it. So I
Yes.
mean, we can go on and on about what exists here, but this is a story that we'll keep tabs on. I think this is a discussion we must continue to have, and this is a discussion that everybody watching should continue to have in their households, in their drawing rooms, and sit down and talk about respect, care, like I said, acknowledgement of everybody who's at home and putting in those hours so you and I can be at work. Thanks, Mitali.
And yes, absolutely. Thanks, Sonal.
Thanks so much.